I come from the generation where in the UK, people tended to vote the same way as their parents. My dad was a Labour voter, and when I left school, I joined the Labour Party, so I was very young. But then I became disillusioned because I joined the party to talk about big national politics. But I think what nobody could have predicted on that election day in 2024 was also the impact and uncertainty that Donald Trump was going to bring to the economy right around the world, through what he's doing.
The trade.
Yeah, trade and even as simple things like the Chagos Islands, where one day it says one thing and another day it says something else.
You were part of the INSA Leadership Summit in these.
Oh yeah, of course.
So INSA is one of those charity organizations which try to challenge all of these narratives, because for years Indian students have been used as a cash cow, especially in Scotland. You know that all the universities in Scotland are struggling with that now, and there are talks about having paid tuition fees for even Scottish people as well. From the lecture halls of Heriot Watt to the green bench of Westminster, our guest today is a man who bridges the gap between complex data and the real world challenges. He's a former professor of engineering and a champion of global education, and the driving force for the historic rare cancer bill. He has a unique blend of academic insights and political grit. I want to talk to him what actually happens when you're trained to work using your logic, but you join a system which is driven by emotion and public sentiment. And we'll also discover a lot of hidden facts about him as well. The biggest Swiftie in the House of Commons. So we'll find out more. Please welcome MP for Edinburgh Southwest, Dr. Scott. Welcome to Global Desi Podcast. How are you?
Good. Thanks you for the flattering introduction. Thank you very much.
No worries. So shall we start? So you weren't supposed to be an MP. You were a civil engineer for 2 decades and a professor. So what really changed that you thought that the council and council chambers and the classroom are not enough? You need to step up and become a parliamentarian. What was there in a moment in life that led you to join politics?
So I really do believe in the power of fate. So I think it's fate rather than personal ambition that's got me this far in life, and that's been saved right through my life actually. So you're right. Before I was an MP, I was a professor at Heriot Watt University, civil engineering, and I was also a councillor at Edinburgh. So I convened the Transport Committee for a couple of years, and I was a councillor for 5 years before that. When I stood as a councillor in 2017 for the first time, the growing understanding that the seat I was standing in, it was very difficult for my party to win. And the expectation was that we ran, I think, quite a good campaign. We enjoyed ourselves, and to my great surprise, managed to get elected back in 2017. And then in 2024, that story repeated itself because I was asked to be the candidate for Edinburgh South West. It didn't look like it was a winning prospect because we were previously we'd come third. I think we were 25% behind the person who won the last time. So I felt like I was very much a paper candidate. And when I explained to my wife that I was thinking about standing, it was an understanding that there was very slim chance that I would be elected. But again, we ran a really good campaign. We had fun. I had lots of support. And we worked really hard, and I did manage to get elected. To my great surprise, I still remember on the way to the count, hearing the exit poll and thinking I might have a chance. But then at the count, seeing the votes stack up, we literally pile. And then so I'd phone my wife and explain that I thought I had a chance of getting elected. And she wasn't very happy at all. Because I think it is, getting elected, living so far outside London to be an MP is a life-changing moment. And she knew I was happy being a professor, and I was also happy being a councillor. So it was a big change.
So now they have accepted you as a politician?
I think so.
You stepped down from Heriot Watt, or are you still there?
So Heriot Watt have actually been really supportive. So early, one of the first people to contact me actually after the election was my head of school and also the principal of the university, just to congratulate me and say that we were hoping that I wouldn't immediately resign. So what they've done, and it's been really good for me, is keep a job open for me. So then if I choose not to stand again, or perhaps I do stand again and lose, I still have the option of returning to Headbourne.
So technically you're on a career break. And you've got a backup plan just in case it doesn't work out in 2029, so you can go back to...
But it would be strange. It's like anything in life. If you imagine leaving it for 5 years and then going back, meaning it'll be different people, different processes, a completely different environment. But it's something to think about, actually, about what it'd be like. I've been an academic, actually, a good institution to work for.
100%. So most people talk about politics on a sideline, but you crossed the line. So what was the mindset shift you had to make from going from academic problem to solving the people's problem or political problem? What mindset shift you had when you decided to cross the border?
So it's not as big as you might think, because I think, first thing you think about civil engineering, it's all about improving the lives of people.
Building bridges.
Literally. Although I was more flood risk management than the bridge building. So it's all about improving people's lives, whilst also protecting the environment. But also being an academic, meaning, so for a while I ran the civil engineering courses in Edinburgh, and we also have the courses at our campus in Dubai and Malaysia, so I ran it for a while. And a lot of my day-to-day work was obviously working with staff, but also hearing the problems of students and trying to make sure that they were well supported within the university environment. So I do feel that prepared me for this kind of feeling of service. We're here in the Home Office just now, staff working extremely hard, as we're all part of that team. And it is about providing a service. And it was the same when I was an academic as well. And it was the same when I was a counsellor. It was about listening to people and trying to figure out how you could best help them. So it's not this huge jump, you would think.
So public service was already there.
I think so. I think, and what's been interesting being an MP is a few groups have been in touch to talk about, because what they want to do is make sure as much as possible, believe it or not, politicians are making judgments based on evidence. And it's been really good connecting with them, actually, because largely they're often linked to universities, special institutions, and they're really keen that politicians at all level do reflect on the excellent work that professional bodies and universities are doing, and that's reflected in policy making. And that's something I really value. I think I'm right to say I'll never refuse to meet an academic or a university body who want to talk to me about what they are doing and how government could be improved by listening to it. Because I think it's really important that we do take advantage of the amazing capacity we have.
So what in Labour Party influenced you, not other party? What would you Labour?
It's positive dimensions to this. So I think, I come from the generation where in the UK people tended to vote the same way as their parents did. And so fitted out, my dad was a Labour voter. And when I left school, I joined the Labour Party early on. But then I became disillusioned because I was at party to talk about big national politics, but the focus was always local politics. So after a year or two, I left. And then I became really upset with the Labour Party over the Iraq War. I thought that, probably quite an extreme view about how I just didn't think that war was a good idea. And became quite disillusioned with the party. But then another controversial thing happened, the Scottish independence referendum came along. And I've seen that because of my work in a university and, the connections with Europe, etc., I've seen that as a real threat, actually, to what I see was some of the benefits of the country. And so I joined the No Thanks campaign, which was against the I campaign for for a big part of the city. I didn't run the campaign in terms of day-to-day, but I'd be out running campaign sessions, and I also looked after some of the social media. And so that allowed me literally something I've never done before, people's doors and literally see into their lives. Open the door. And I was able to see that some people were living very comfortably, quite wealthy people, and also you see people who were really struggling day to day, and you could see that all people, even quite different lives. And so after the referendum, I thought I wanted to be part of creating a fairer, better, and at the time I thought Labour was best placed to do that. Of course, immediately after that referendum, Labour's Scotland changed quite a bit, and there's difficult times in the UK up until 2024. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenging decade or so for me to be in the Labour Party, and those challenges still exist in such different shapes and forms. but it's been good, you know.
You've been an MP more than a year now, so has anything has changed or surprised you about Labour Party once you become MP, or your views are still the same what it was before joining?
That's a good question. No, because I think, you know, I'm a Labour Party here. I mean, the tough the MPs in, you know, what I think actually is that, you know, some really impressive people, really good thinkers, and they bring a lot of experience and they're quite good at representing the local area. But I think, you know, there's been challenges without a doubt. It is, you know, you struggle to go straight face with that. The challenges without a doubt. But I do hope we're pushing in the right direction, and I do hope that we start to see some of the benefits of some of the decisions that have been made in terms of economy in particular.
Right. So next question was about economy. Let's speak very candidly. Labour came with the big promises of economic development, about growth, fiscal responsibility, and investment. But people here in Scotland see this was just a political promise. The growth hasn't been as it was promised just before election. So what do you think, as an you are an insider? So what are some of the bottlenecks of the government for not driving those growths?
So I mean, it's worth thinking if you go back to, you know, the fifth election in 2024.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what was before us, we knew the country was in a difficult state, and we knew that fixing it was going to take time. And they're going to talk about being a 10 project, not a 1 year project, or not a 5 year project, but a 10-year project. And then, of course, they said that once it took office, it seemed that the situation for the government was worse than expected. So an argument whether or not, well, it was always going to be worse than you expected, you know, it's the previous government and decisions they were making. So that's kind of, we get that is the kind of context. But I think what nobody could have predicted on that election day in 2024 was also the impact and uncertainty that Donald Trump was going to bring to the economy right around the world. You know, through trade and even simple things like the Chagos Islands, where one day he says one thing, and another day he says something else. And the relationship that he has with Chief Peace saying, all the uncertainty around that. So I don't think anybody could have predicted the impact that was going to have us as a country. And I think that's been amplified by Brexit, because I think previously, before Brexit, we would have been part of the EU, the US's biggest trade partner, I think, or certainly one of the bigger ones. But now, because of Brexit, we're an island that's floating in the middle of the Atlantic. And we really, whilst the EU can push back a little bit against what Trump tries to do, for a country like the UK, a modestly sized country, it's a difficult situation to be in, without a doubt. But of course, we can't blame it.
That's why economic slowdown in the UK. So I know it's one of the factors, but what is that which is not as per the expectation, quite slower than what people had expected, especially in Scotland, you know? Those bottlenecks, can you list out a few of them or just one?
So I think so first in Scotland, through the budgets, we've delivered about an extra £10 billion in funding from the Scottish Government on top of their own powers they have around the economy, etc. But I think there's a reasonable conversation to be had about how well that money has been spent in Scotland. We did have to raise money, you know, quite a government to try to shore up public services, particularly to invest in NHS in England, and that's come to us via violent consequences in Scotland.
Yeah.
And I do, I'm my constituency all the time, and I do get that some of the decisions we made to raise that money, particularly around national insurance contributions, has been really challenging for some businesses. I mean, some businesses, they are quite loud about it. They say it was more than they expect. Well, most businesses, I think, thought something was going to happen to election insurance. There's wild speculation about it during the election campaign. We've seen the rate as ever changing, but there's an appreciate the threshold wage. And so I just that's harmed some businesses. And I met a business last week, and they said it's just making it harder for them to operate. And it's moved on from a business that was making profit, and as a business owner, who's taking time off to enjoy that profit, which I respect. And now he's working back 7 days a week in the business and try just to go in. But I also have to work within the same constraints as a business, in that I have to balance my budget, our staff, the going up, you know, for Limtra, in a way that just like for some businesses, it's quite difficult for us to accommodate within that fixed budget. So I do understand some of these.
I mean, I have some MSPs as well from various parties. So this always been in Scotland's very tricky situation. They blame Westminster, and Westminster blame Scottish Parliament. What is the way out for a common man? How would so you get a chance to change one economic policy, and if you get the superpower, what would that be to accelerate growth?
So, I mean, I don't like talking about this too publicly, but I think the challenges is around, and so we see in the build up to the budget this year was that there was just a lot of speculation about all the possible bad things that could be in the budget. And I think that did harm some people's. And I know I've spoken to people who represent the pension industry saying that quite big decisions were made based on reports and Daily Telegraph and things like this about what possibly could be in the budget. And that's harmed some of these funds. And that was just based on speculation. So I do think that if the and the confidence thing is really important. And I was speaking last week to a bank, and they were making the point that for the bank, they're lending to businesses who are paying back their loans, and they think what things are looking broadly positive. But they also made the point on the retail banking side that people who are able to save have never been saving more.
Yeah.
And that I forget the number. People now are saving relatively high amounts of their wages. They're able to, which is great. Not everybody can. But the point that I'm making is the reason they're saving is because they feel uncertain about the economic future. So they don't want to spend money. New house or on a big expensive holiday.
Yeah.
They're saving. So I do think, as well as actually growing the economy, we do have to use people with some confidence what's coming. Yeah. And I think that the figures this week that give some hope, and inflation's starting to fall a bit. We do have some economic growth with the hope that might improve. Still challenges around youth unemployment, but employment itself is rising. So there is hope. So confidence, yeah.
And next is the NHS, So what do you think, why is NHS crumbling, and what steps your government has taken? There's a lot of job vacancies available, but we do not have the talent to recruit whether it's in Scotland or rest of the UK. So what is that in NHS which, everybody's waiting list to everything. So what do you think? How can your government, what efforts your government has put so far for improving?
So we've injected in NHS England, huge amount of extra money. And that has seen the real impact on wait lists and waiting times, which is really, really positive. I think the harder work to be done is around the organisation of the NHS to start to make it more efficient. And I think that applies both north and south of the border. I mean, you might come to it later, but we've probably mentioned the Cancer's Bill. I was in the Scottish Parliament recently talking to MS and charities about the bill. And I was expecting the conversation to be about how for some cancer drugs, they're available in Scotland, but they're not available in England. But these charities are making, and the people from MSPs were making the point that, some trail on some NHS boards in Scotland, but not others. And I just find that incredible that we have the internal bureaucracy in Scotland to manage these boards are putting these barriers in place where treatments aren't available to everybody on the same basis at the same time. So I do think we have to look at the organisation, and I don't want to get too political, but I think my party going into the election is talking about reducing the number of organisation units in the NHS in Scotland quite significantly, so we can reduce that bureaucracy and actually spend more time focus on improving the NHS delivery. My wife's been an NHS nurse for a long time, and so acutely some of the challenges organisationally within the. I spoke to another nurse recently, and she talked about frustration. She was doing a bank shift in E&E, which is just like a temporary shift, and then he said that the staff were just absolutely exhausted. And she was really concerned about them, actually.
Yeah, I hope that.
So, and I think this is important thing to remember, is I think it's right that we do demand that NHS performance improves, but that's about resources. We have to remember that staff are working in the NHS 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's
so it's not about the staff. It's about the political oversight and our willingness to give it the resources and also the freedom to make a difference.
So you being your wife being nurse, so you understand all the problem of the NHS employees, which is very good. So moving on for the next segment, because this podcast is more about Indian diaspora, India, soft power, and things like that. So Dr. Anitha, I was just going through and doing some research, and I saw that recently in Parliament you talked about the UK should adopt India's digital ID, which is Aadhaar card, and can save billions. So what happened? Once was a global tech hub, now trying to catch up with India. So do you think India has made a significant stack in digitalization and we are way behind. Because I visit India almost every year and I can see that you can pay anyone, even a street vendor, you can pay using a UPI. And but in UK it's been so challenging. So why is that our digitalization is so slow? And I thank you for suggesting this. So tell us more about this.
It's a challenge. The digital ID card idea, which the government had,
Yeah.
I think control the narrative properly because I think the story was leaked
Yeah.
before they
Officially launched. Yeah.
and so I think there should be much more focus on what the benefits were. If the benefits of the card in India, and I think most of Europe has a card, some kind of ID card now,
Yeah.
apart from UK. And just the government's launching there's two things in the pipeline: digital driving licenses. So it'd been a different version of events might have been for them to launch that NHS app. It'd been successful, people like it. And they say, well, wait a minute, this has been really successful. Let's start putting more government services on this. Or likewise with the license card, this is successful. People have got their phones, it works. Let's more services into this. And people would use it because it was a benefit to them. But instead, it ended up in a conversation about what is this for? What's it going to mean?
Went into the wrong direction. Yeah.
And I think these days as well, I don't know if it's just a UK thing.
Yeah.
We're in this strange position where people are concerned about the use of their data, but at the same time, we give so much of our data to social media. Yeah. So I had someone on the ID card question, someone on my Facebook page saying that no one was ever going to get their data. And I didn't have the heart to say, well, you've just given Facebook that little piece of data about the fact that you don't want to give your data to anybody. And it's a really strange situation we're in. And some of the narrative around ID cards about, and people say they didn't trust the government with, digital systems. The government has all this data already. All the card want to do was bring it together.
I believe the narrative was wrong and people took it that their personal information will be available to government and they will not have privacy. I think that's how it looked into. So do you think that even in economy or in many other parts, your government is failing to put out a proper narrative and there's an intention, but doesn't translate into a proper narrative?
Yeah, I mean, a common criticism actually is that, we want to change, we say we want to improve the economy, but really, what is the vision? What is the country we're trying to create? I mean, my criticism. And how do these, for every piece of legislation we're bringing to Parliament, how does that contribute to that? And so a lot of the stuff we're doing is really important. And you're right in that we do have to work hard.
To check it.
Yeah. And and I know myself that, if I engage with people in my constituency, it's really too easy to do it by complaining.
Yeah.
Say a blog about how awful potholes are, and I'll get a lot of engagement. But what's harder is to actually engage people with a positive narrative about something Scottish government's doing or the UK government's doing, and engage them in that and think, this is good, how can we build on this and do more? So
it's same with podcasts as well. If you just stop playing things, people will not watch it. If it's something like that, people will turn up and like. So come back to India and immigration. So there's a lot of talk about the graduate visa route, which has been said that as a backdoor entry for immigration. You've been a professor for more than 20 years, and you've seen the Indian student coming to the UK and contributing heavily to not just economy, culture, and all other stuff. So do you really think that they just justify the tightening of the student visa rules by the Labour government, your government just now? So is it fair because they are kind of attached to go and contribute to the economy? So you justify the tightening of the student visa rule?
So I really do think that, I think we do to talk about the positives of immigration and how much as a country we rely on it. And at the NHS earlier, I think, was it 250,000 in the NHS weren't born in the UK. Came here, and that's before about I had heart surgery 10 years ago. The surgeon who did the work, he was born here. And, and on his passport is his place of birth was the last thing might be. And so we have to make that case. And then, and I do know, we're talking about India, I mean, the immigrants that come here from the beneficial, very hard work, and they did a fantastic contribution to our economy. We should never forget that. You're right in the waves of students coming from India is that market opened up to us. And I taught many of them, dissertation students, etc. I think If I'm honest, and you might like this, I think for some of them, they needed to sold them the vision of coming to Edinburgh. I think some of the students, when they came here, it wasn't quite what they were expecting. So I do think that universities do have a duty to make sure that the students that are coming here know about the challenges of living in the UK.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy.
No.
It's not, you have to work hard. And I see that. I mean, recently we had a student here. There was two students actually come together into my surgery in the library next door. Both of them are from India. One of them, I think, had studied computer science or computer programming. And she had just got her graduate job. So she graduated, she struggled to find that kind of first professional job, but now she's got one, and she was so happy. Our colleague had done a degree in business studies, and she was really struggling to find a quality job. She was working in the social care sector, and she just lost that social care sector job. And she was realising that she just had a couple of months before her graduate visa run out, and she was going to go back to India, and her family had accumulated quite a lot of debt. And I think if the agent was honest with her, they would have said to her, with this,
you'll not have a chance to get a proper job. So I agree with what you're saying. It's what I gather from this conversation is that it's more about the agent, because this is a business for them. Sending here. So the INSA Leadership Summit and these. So INSA is one of those charity organizations which try to challenge all of these narratives, because for years Indian student has been used as a cash cow, especially in Scotland, because my doctor will go and get a free space this born here, so he's going to university free here. But the amount of money the international student bring, you know that all universities in Scotland are struggling with now about having paid tuition fees even for the Brit and Scottish people as well. So, I mean, there's a gap between understanding the contribution of the immigrants, whether it's student or and whether it's people coming illegally through boats and things like that. I think, just to be fair, there's a quite complex. I don't want to say a really controversial thing, but what I'm trying to say, people who contribute to the economy are sidelined, but we give more space to people who are a burden to your economy and the country. Why you've been trying to stop the boat and all of those things, but why the policy is not fair? That's what I think most economic immigrants want to ask you through this podcast. Why the policies are not fair for people who want to come here, spend some time, contribute, on, and then go back to their country. India is growing massively. So why is the immigration policies are not fair for those immigrants?
So I mean, you don't think it's just closed on the future of the immigration system, and hopefully we'll get to a good place on that. I mean, we did our own consultation on this, and we just submitted our submission on behalf of people who took part in that. Is that fairer system? I mean, it's an area, and I was working at a university, and on one side of me, I had an academic from Indonesia, and one side of the office, an academic from Nigeria. And these people are absolutely at the top of their fields. And we're lucky that they came to the UK to teach our young people to make a difference. And so I always say that we're going to make a positive case for immigration. We should start in universities, because there's a real strong case there. In terms of students coming to the UK, I mean, your daughter's here, so if she wants to go to university, I mean, I'm sure she'll be able to. But the universities in Scotland do not make money out of undergraduate education. They're not funded to make money out of it. So the only choice they have to make money is postgraduate taught education, and involves bringing people in from overseas to pay for those courses. So you have to do to make money. But then, as you're saying, the university might make it more difficult for them to do that. In fact, they're taxing these students. Well, they're taxing the universities. Which they're 6%, I think it is, which they're not happy about. So we need a system that works. We need a system that supports the economy. Personally, I think right across the sector, I think both the UK and Scottish government should be much more direct about what universities are doing in terms of the subjects of teaching. Because just now it's a bit of a market.
No, true.
Because your daughter, which we're pointing out again, she'll pick the course which interests her, which is fantastic. But we also have to think about what graduates we need for UK government has an industrial strategy.
Yeah.
I think the government should do more to make sure that the industrial strategy is linked to what universities are teaching.
Yeah.
And then if students in the UK don't want to study this needed, then we do have to look to immigration to fill those gaps as well.
Definitely. So there need to be stringent regulations for the agents sending back here. And I also think that universities should not treat international students or Indian students just as a cash cows. Just
No, I mean, they're good students. By and large, they're good students, and I mean, in Parliament a month or two ago, I mean, they were all incredible. I was really impressed. Jealous, actually, of the huge potential they have.
They started their own entrepreneurship in different domains and jobs to people across all places. So now moving on. So the next part, and one of the great thing your government has done is the free trade agreement, which has been longing for a very long time. So you've done the free trade agreement with India. So as you know that India is trying to become the third largest economy. So what tangible benefit do you think of the trade agreement can benefit the people of Edinburgh or Scotland? Do you think of anything which can really benefit us here in Edinburgh?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess selfishly, when I think of the trade agreement, we always think about how it makes it much easier for people in India to drink Scottish whisky.
Mm-hmm.
But for my Christmas, I did get a bottle of Indian whisky.
Right. Which one did you get?
Well,
Amrut? Was it Amrut or John Paul?
No, it must be the first one.
Amrut. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is the real meaning of.
Okay. It's not from your consulate.
Okay.
Yeah, which is so. Mate, you never know. It might mean that more Scottish people are drinking Indian whiskey. But I think there's also hope that more textile is from into the UK as well. So hopefully there's a benefit there. It's great. I mean, obviously we have two countries have a long-standing relationships. So whilst I'm not a fan of Brexit, I think that has made it easier to establish this deal. And in the Indian economy is absolutely fantastic just now, and it's everywhere. I'm not a really well-travelled person, but everywhere I go in the world, there's Indians working really hard. Really hard. Yeah.
Two other things, sort of quite hands-on day-to-day, and you interact with constituents, local business. You put out service for tram, which I filled as well. So quite hands-on. Where is the world where everybody is, trying to get attention of burning news, obsessed with headlines? So how do you keep your hyper-focus on local issues, when chasing the headlines? How do you keep your local issues in your heart and mind? So what do you do?
So, fundamentally, our job, and job is to translate what people are telling us in the constituency every day to what's happening in Parliament, and making sure that they've been to represent. That people say, make mistakes doing that. But also, a big part of my job is also to translate, I'll use that word, what's happening in government. Yeah, to make it relevant to people. Because I think the reality is, it's amazed me being an MP, because I didn't expect to do much attention looking at what happens in Parliament. But it's amazed me almost every day in Parliament, the Wednesday certainly, we are forming legislation. So decisions are getting made almost every day. But the person doesn't know about this. It's a bad decision or a good decision. They don't all the stuff. And I do think that I do have a duty to talk about that. But the amazing things about being an MP is that if some issue in their constituency and they represent them with a company or with a landlord, normally the company will engage with you and speak to you. We actually had someone in the office on Tuesday, they're a private landlord, and their sink was blocked. And so a very basic problem is really impacting on their life. And one of the office staff managed to get the landlord, hopefully, to unblock this. Oh my God. So I think people that kind of convenient can come together to solve those problems. Yeah, and it's something we take really seriously in the office. I mean, if you follow Facebook, you'll know they'll listen to the glass. She managed to get someone's state pension corrected last week, and that meant she got £25,000 for that woman. Wow. Yeah, for some women in her 80s. So that's a life change.
Yeah, I was to ask you some of the happy stories in your last 1 year, but you all gave examples.
So I think last year we won back around, I think, just over £300,000. And that included everything from being overcharged with power bills, problems with pensions, with someone who paid university fees but didn't feel that they were treated properly. And so, really injustices,
Yeah.
not on anybody, but just doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky in the office, and all the staff really care, and they want just to create a better place for people to live.
Yeah. So that's from your work, you well in your first year. So what more about your cancer, rare cancer? So what was the challenges with previous bills that led people to accept your bill, and what was the frustration or what was the priorities that led your rare cancer bill? And I think there's some connection with something to do with your father-in-law as well.
Yeah.
So I want you to elaborate on your rare cancer bill and talk us more about.
So it's in the way, obviously, the governments over many years have wanted to improve cancer survival rates. And inevitably what that meant was that, through or convenience, the people have ended up focusing on the bigger, more common cancers. And amazing progress has been made with some of these cancers, which we should be grateful for. But for cancers, which account for about 45% of all diagnoses each year, the progress hasn't been the same. And so my father-in-law, he died of a type of cancer called glioblastoma, a brain tumour. For that tumour hasn't changed in 20 or 30 years. Average life expectancy at the point of diagnosis in the UK is months. So it's so 95% of people die within 5 years of diagnosis. So really, when you get diagnosed with that type of tumour, it's, I hate to say it, it's a death sentence. And there's not enough research. So what the bill does is tries to set the correct environment for more research to be done in that area. And this a week today will be the final vote. Parliament.
I wish you luck.
After that, it goes to the King or Royal Assent. Right. So it's a huge step. And what's really unusual about the bill is the bill was presented to Parliament by me, an independent backbench MP, and it's really, really unusual for a backbench MP.
And the first term MP,
It's so unusual.
Yeah.
But why it succeeded is we're backed by around 40 charities. We spoke in detail with Department of Health and Social Care to make sure the bill would work for them. And so it's a real, take all the credit for it.
Yeah.
It's a real coalition of people. My staff have charities, the DHSC, and we've found something which will make it. And already it's not passed yet, but the government, they've just published a cancer plan, a 10-year plan to improve cancer outcomes. And they said, whether my bill passes actions.
I think
it's amazing.
Do you think that, for so many charities and research, but still we're not able to find cure for cancer, I hope this bill brings focus on that, and thank you for doing that. So coming back again to the diaspora angle, you attend so many Indian events. I see your Facebook, you're there everywhere. There's an Indian event, you're there. So event and having a people-to-people collaboration. How do you think just attending an event will help people? Is there any tangible benefit you see, whether it's in business or healthcare or anything where diaspora community for almost 15 years, and I see people are more focused on just getting a picture clicked or things like that. So how can we bring them into the system and feel them part of the community or part of the system? And how small things, have you ever thought about any things with diaspora community can help you? For example, in your cancer research bill, there are some doctors who can provide you some research, some tangible benefit rather than just attending an event and getting some clamps and flowers, So
really important just now in the UK, because I know the Indian community in Scotland, some of it is well established and it's multi-cultural, but other people have come more recently. And I do know, what breaks my heart because of the way that politics has went in the UK over the last few years. Because I know there's been an Indian community who worry about the children just walking to school.
Yeah.
Because it's the views that a real minority of people have. Yeah. So I do think it's important that I do engage with everyone in my constituency just to make sure that people feel that they're part of that community and they're valued. And I think, secondly, with the Indian, I think that applies to everyone. The Indian community specifically, I think what makes it different is that both recently and people have been here for many generations. It's such a hard-working community. I know through the group events I go to, they're all professional people. Doctors, people who work in finance, people who work in even humble civil servants. I was at an event at lunchtime today, National Gallery, and I made a point because I said it's such an important community for Edinburgh because at the heart of so much of the economy. And so connection. But you're
bringing change and which helps you out Scotland. Have you thought about engaging in such way?
I think the only thing I can think of was lobbying the airport around.
Yeah, that's what I found it at Indo Scott Direct.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so that's been working with the Glasgow and Edinburgh Airport to sell a direct flight between India and Scotland, and the stat shows that it's a profitable route for any airline to pick this up. It's just that pushing that. I think Christian Jardine and few other MPs been part of this consultation for quite some time.
So I think it's coming, isn't it? I mean, my understanding is the availability of the aircraft.
Yes,
And
I
they're
think
waiting. Once more aircraft are built, one of these aircraft will be assigned to the route.
the last I know, Air India says that yes, but when is not clear. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And it's one of the things that, in this Parliament around expanding Heathrow.
Yeah.
Because one of the worries about Heathrow getting expanded is that Edinburgh lose point-to-point routes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, analysis shows that just now the entrance to the Middle East and also to North America, and Malta, as of in Malta this week actually, but it's a little bit niche. But and there is a real risk that expanding Heathrow might make it harder to get the direct route to India. So I always say that for me to support expanding Heathrow, Edinburgh shouldn't lose routes. In fact, I want to gain. And also, I don't want it to impact on the train service between Edinburgh. Yeah, so that's a good place to work. But then, I mean, I guess what to I mean, I do have stitches from the community come in, often immigration issues, to be honest, that I spoke about with two students earlier. But in terms of wider policy issues, I can't think of anything that's been raised, but my door's always open.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. So one thing I always ask people, what is that you do? Because it's a quite intense, pressurized job, which what you do and managing a team and all of these things. And so what do you do to unwind yourself? I know you do park run, and is there any hobby you do which makes you feel?
Can I just say that I actually enjoy my job.
Right.
I enjoy my job, so it's not that when I do my job that I feel that pressure. I enjoy it. I really do. And managing, I have an office manager who manages the office. The other team, I mean, it's easy to view a hierarchy. The MP comes in and everybody salutes to him when he comes in office, but it's not like that at all. We're all equals in office. So I enjoy the job. So it's not that I feel the need for massive relaxation all the time. But you're right, I enjoy running. So I do most every weekend. And my target is to do 50 park runs this year. Do you get park runs in India?
Yeah.
Oh, good. And to do 50 park runs this year, which means doing one park run only happens once a week, so I need to do 50 weeks. I volunteer for park run on Sundays, which enthuses me as well. And my faith is important to me as well on a Sunday. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So just things against. I think the one thing I feel guilty about, and I think many people share this now, is that I read less now. That's why I took a few days off on holiday this week. Still doing the emails a little bit on holiday, but I did find more time to just read a book, which is good. And I think these days lots of people find it harder to read because we're on our phones too much now. We're reading all the distractions. We're doing our emails at work all the time. And so I do think, and one of my resolutions after holiday this week is to spend more time
reading books.
Yeah, hopefully. And my year out was to drink. I don't drink too much, but drink less and sleep more.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So this is the last segment.
Right. Okay.
It's a rapid fire round. Oh. You'll just get few seconds to think, and you have to promptly answer. Okay, are you ready, sir? As a professor, will you use a particularly long and boring student? Will you use AI to rate?
No, but I did use it to analyze student feedback when I was at university. You get hundreds of comments from students about their experience, and you can use AI very quickly to analyze that. Yeah, I found it. Hopefully, they can rules on it.
I found out that you're a Swiftie, so you're on a long train ride back from London to Edinburgh. You can only listen to one Taylor Swift era for the next 4 hours. Which one will it be? Red, 1989, or something else?
1989, I think. Yeah.
Good. My daughter is a Swiftie as well. I think Swiftie. So this one is a funny one. If Taylor Swift asked you to write a policy version of Shake It Off, so which political rival will you dedicate the policy to the Shake It Off?
Oh, a political rival, Swiftie. I don't know actually. I think probably maybe he's not a rival, would be Chris Murray. I'm sure he's got some interest in him. I think he's certainly more youthful than I am. That's why he comes to mind.
So, have you ever been to India?
No, I would like to go. We're just speaking about that today. Actually, I would like to go when that flight starts up between. It will be on the first plane.
I promised the Vice Consul Amit because they come for 3 years. So whenever he goes back in the direct. So which one place in India you got in mind you want to visit? Have you got anything in mind?
So I think a colleague who used to work within the council, she has property still in India. No,
Bali.
no, it's not. I forget the name of the place.
Kerala.
Oh, she's promised me I could stay there,
Right.
so that's the place to go. Sorry, I forget the name of
That's
the place.
fine.
I will come back.
So who is your favorite global politician?
And just somebody who is just an absolutely fantastic communicator is Barack Obama. And I've been looking at some stuff recently. He's a real statesman, and we look at other American. You compare the sincerity and the dignity that Barack Obama brought to that job compared to others. And my hometown MP, yeah.
Okay, the final one. A student or from academia wish to join politics. What one tip would you like to share with them?
Don't be too tribal, because that was a mistake I made when I became a councillor, is that you forget that you have to work with other parties all the time. And I think it's too tribal because we're first past the post. And I really do hope that we move to PR, actually, proportional representation. And I think that would force us together more, which is a good thing, because ultimately people vote for these parties. They don't just vote for. I won on less than 40% of the vote. So most people who voted in my election didn't vote for me; they voted for other parties. So we have to remember that. I think proportional representation and better politics in the UK, and I think it would also avoided things like Brexit, the Scottish independence referendum, because I think at the heart of the malcontent that a lot of people have just now in the UK is some of it's related to the voting system.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Scott. I hope people enjoy your podcast. You've got your heart in the right place and you're working for the local community as well as thinking of global issues as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.